Turn our button.
We're on Tzadik Ches Amud Beis on the bottom. We're going to be doing Daf 99, but we start on 98 on the bottom. Ton Rabbanim. Charutzim Hayukroshim. The bottoms of the kroshim, it looked like an electric socket. Like it was a two-pronged, it was fashioned, it was like carved out of the bottom, so there were like two little pegs sticking out of the bottom, and it would fit into a double-pronged socket, like a plug fitting into a socket. That's V'nirim krosim balulos kakochavim barakia. This refers to the rings that the curtains that were placed over the Mishkan, because there were 5 pieces sewn together, and they were connected with like rings with like a golden thread, and when they would hang it up, it would look like twinkling stars. That's basically what the Gemara is saying. So again, there was a cover of the Mishkan, an inner one, and an outer one. So Yurios HaTachtonos, the one that was on the bottom, was made of tcheles v'shel argamam v'shel shani v'shel sheish. It was, the royal purple, and this various red and other colors of argamon, shades of red and purple. The Elyona, the covering on top, was shalmaisi easy, was not woven, it was sewn out of goat hair. The wisdom that went into making the upper one was greater, the way the Torah records it, than the lower one. Every woman who had wisdom in her heart would weave it. There was Nasiya slave, which is a higher level. Why is that? That they did all the sewing while the hair was still on the goat. How exactly they did that? Because the longer that the hair is connected to the animal, it remains shinier and more fresh. So they left it there as long as possible. So they did a lot of the sewing and the processing on the goat itself. Then the Mishnah said, "Shteik zuzteris." We said that if you had 2 balconies, we talked about if you had 2 rishus hayachids on either side of a rishus harabi, one on this side, one on that side, and all those dinim that applied there. Then we said, because that didn't occur in the Mishkan, so there were leniencies. But if you lived in an apartment building and you had a balcony that extended out over the rishus harabi that was below you, and there's a balcony in front of you with some space between the balconies, and you threw something or passed something from one balcony to another, you were chayiv, because that's exactly how the malacha was done in the midbar with the agolos, with the wagons, because they would park 2 wagons next to each other and then 2 wagons in front of those. And they would have 48 boards, 12 boards per wagon. And we learned yesterday how they would stack it. Either 3 stacks, right, of 4 or 4 stacks of 3, depending on the shita, whether they were lying on their sides or lying sort of on their length. One was 1.5 versus one was 1. And the Levium would hand the boards to one of the wagons, and if they needed to, they would transfer it forward along the length of the rishus harabi, because the wagons are faced according to the length of the Rosh Hashanah. So you get a board and you transfer it in front of you. So that's exactly analogous to the case of a gezustra, of a balcony, handing something from one balcony to the other balcony. The wagons, tachteim uveineim v'tzideim, underneath the wagon, their sides, and between them are Rosh Hashanah. Again, the dimensions were the wagons were 5 across. The wheel was like one and a quarter, and then the board stuck out another 1 1/4. It means, remember we said, since the boards were 10 amas, and you sort of centered them on the wagon, so 5 were covered by the wagon, 2.5 on one side, 2.5 on the other side. And the wheel extended out by 1 1/4, so the board extended beyond the wheel by 1 1/4. That's why you had 2.5 on either side. And the Gemara is telling us that everything below the boards and the wagons themselves were overhanging the Rosh Hashanah, would be considered the Rosh Hashanah. Now, the agola were 5 by 5, length 5 and width 5. So the distance between each wagon that was to the side of it was also 5. Because remember, the board stuck out 2.5 on either side. You had 2 wagons next to each other. So you had 2.5 of the board sticking out from that wagon, 2.5 sticking out from that wagon. So the width between them was 5. So basically it was 5, 5, 5. Now, the kama or agola, how long was the agola? Chamesh amos. Lamali. If the width of each board was 1.5, and you had to pile 3 stacks, so 1.5 times 3 is 4.5. Why did I need the wagon to be 5 amas? Ba'arba upalgasag would have been enough 4.5. Our answer is kiheki de lolitcha, crush it, because we wanted some breathing space between the crushim. Otherwise, it would have fit exactly. And this way, there could be room. You didn't have to squeeze them in. Right? The sides of each wagon was like the width of the wagon, which was 5. Excuse me. Each width of the wagon was 2.5. Right. And then with the sides, with the wheels on either side, the width of the whole wagon was 5. And the question is, whether I had 4 stacks or 3 stacks, why did I need it to be so wide? But I'm so pagasai, 1.5 would have been enough. The Gemara answers, crush it. The problem is, if they were balanced on such a narrow middle wagon, they wouldn't be able to, they would tip on either side. And therefore, by having them 2.5, when you laid the crushing down, you'd have a better balance so that it wouldn't tip. Then the Gemara says, we know that the criteria for Wilshire Boulevard or Fifth Avenue or whatever street you want to consider Rosh Hashanah based on its traffic, let's say 600,000 people go through there a day, it also had to have a minimum of 16 amas wide. Now, that has to do with these dimensions of this wagon assembly that we've been describing. Anan de Gamilami Mishkan, the Mishkan Chameis Re'avim. So this Rishus Harabim, where the wagons define what the Rishus Harabim is, as we said, are only 15. 5 in the middle, 5 by the next wagon. So the more answers, Am Siyasera Havi, there was a half am on either side, The Havakoi ben Levi, a Levi would walk next to wagons. If he saw that the kroshim were falling off, he would touch them and straighten them to make sure that they remain balanced. So that's why the width of what we consider Rosh Hashanah is 16 amos. Mishnah. Chulya sabor Gasela in Boinasora Verach Bonasora Anoitel Mehen Vanois Nagaben Chayiv. So if you have a rock in the Rosh Hashanah that is 10 tfachim high and 4 by 4 tfachim wide, that defines a minimum Rosh Hashanah. Anything less than that is a makom ptur, would not be chayiv. But so if you have a rock that's 10 tfachim high, and therefore if you threw something from the Rosh Hashanah that landed on top of the rock, you transferred something from the Rosh Hashanah to the Rosh Hashanah, you're going to be chayiv. Now, what is Chulya Sabor? Chulya Sabor is, let's say you dug a bore, a ditch in Rosh Hashanah that was 9 tfachim deep. And then you built around the lip of the bore, let's say the dirt that you excavated from the bore, it rose up another tefach as the rim around the bore. So we're going to see that creates its starfus between the depth of the bore and this rim equals 10. Therefore, if I throw a ball from the Rosh Hashanah into that bore, I'm going to be chayiv because I've defined the Rosh Hashanah again. It doesn't just mean 10 tefachim up. Even 10 tefachim down creates the Rosh Hashanah. What is this phraseology of Chulya Sabor? Why not say, Lisni Habor Vasela? So Messiah, Rav Yochanan supports the halacha of Rav Yochanan. The Amar Rav Yochanan Bor v'Chul Yosem. It starts from Lasora. That if, like I said when I described the Mishnah, that if you didn't have a bore of 10, you only had a bore of 9, but the rim is 1, they're mitzvah to give you the depth of 10. Tayam Ahachi, there's a baraisa to support that. Bor b'Rosh Hashanah. If you have a ditch that's dug in Rosh Hashanah, Amuka Asara Orach Arba, a Mamalan Emena b'Shabbos. You cannot fill with water. You cannot put a pail in the Rosh Hashanah, in the bore and drag it into the Rosh Hashanah, because you're going to be transferring from the Rosh Hashanah to the Rosh Hashanah. Ela im kain asula mechitza gavos artfachim. You have to build around the bore walls that are at least 10 tfachim high, that creates anything within it a Rosh Hashanah. Now, what if you lean your body over the bore? It's not like you take a pail from the bore and bring it out to the Rosh Hashanah. No, I'm going to lean over and drink from it. So the din is, it's not asur midoraisa, because I haven't transferred because my head is over the Rosh Hashanah. But the Chacham made a gzeira that we shouldn't do it, because we're worried that you will transfer from where you are over the bore into the Rosh Hashanah. Now, if you put your head and the majority of your body, so then that's okay. That you can drink, because you're not going to bring the kli outside because you're physically over the bore. Ubor v'chul yosem, it starts in Lasara, like we said, the 9 tefach bore with a 1 tefach rim will be mitzvah to create a bore of 10 tefachim. Okay. Boy minei Rav Mordechai me Rav. We have some theoretical questions. Amud b'rshut sarabim gavla sar v'rachavar. You have a post in the Rosh Hashanah that's 10 tefachim high, 4 tefachim wide. So we've learned now that is its own Rosh Hashanah. Zorak v'nachal gaba. And you threw something from the Rosh Hashanah and it landed on top of the board. What's the din? Well, mi amrinan harei akira be'isur, harei hanacha be'isur. What do you mean? You picked it up, so you did the Akira and Rishus Harabim. You threw it and it landed on top of Rishus Hayachid. So you have Akira be'Isra, Anacha be'Isra, so certainly you're going to be Chayiv. Oh, Dilma, listen to this. Kivan de B'makom P'tur Kasya. So anything above 10 Tfachim, above the Rishus Harabim, is considered a Makom P'tur. So when you throw something to land, look at my hands, if you throw something to land on top, so with the Rishonim explain, through your force, it made it up there. But now when it's falling from gravity. It's got an arc. It's like a ballistic missile. Now when it's falling, it's not your koach anymore, right? And it's deriving from a Makom P'tur. So maybe it should be potter. So Rava said, it's our Mishnah. Well, I mean, our Mishnah said if you throw something from Rishus Harabim to a stone, you're going to be chayiv. Also, Shail Rav Yosef. Rav Mordechai was not satisfied. He went to ask Rav Yosef. Also said, it's our Mishnah. Also, Shail Abaye. He went to Abaye. Are you all sort of drinking from the same Kool-Aid? I mean, so Amr later said to him, what do you mean? Our Mishnah says, if you put something or took something from the rock that was 10 tefachim high, you're going to be chayiv. So what's wrong? Amr lahu, he said, Dilma masnisim b'macha. Maybe a needle, this is something very small, that's why you're chayiv. But a ball that has to be transferred through like a ballistic trajectory, no. So Gemara says, Machat nami yafshad lo midle porta, even if a needle has to be lifted a little bit above the 10 tefachim, so it's still coming from a Makom P'tur. So the Gemara gives two answers. Number one, the Islay Morsha, it has like an extension from the sides of that thing, and the extension is like that thing, and therefore you place the needle, let's say at 9 tefachim, but since it's still sitting on the Rishus Hayachid, it's not an extension for Rishus Hayachid, it's Chai. Or Inami de Ramya B'charitza, or let's say there was a crack on the top, and you slid the needle into the crack. So there you don't have to go through this sort of the ballistic trajectory where you have this issue of something traveling from a Makom P'tur through gravity, not through your own koach. Maybe it would be part. Amr of Maisha. Boy Rav Yechon. Koisel b'Rishus Harabim gavua sora. Ve'ena rochav arba. So you have a wall in the Rishus Harabim that's 10 tefachim high, but it's not 4 tefachim wide. So it's not a Rishus Hayachid. If you threw something that traveled daled amas Rishus Harabim and it stuck to the wall, you'd not be chayiv, because you didn't transfer something from Rishus Harabim to Rishus Hayachid. This does not create Rishus Hayachid because it's not 4 tefachim wide. However, Mukaf LaKarmelis, this wall was built to surround a Karmelis. A Karmelis is an area that does not define Rishus Hayachid. For example, it's a meadow, and because it's Hukaf Ladira, as long as it doesn't have 5,000 square amas, it would be considered a Karmelis. So let's say in the middle of Rishus Harabim, you have this Karmelis that somebody built a wall around. The wall itself would not qualify as Rishus Hayachid, but you built a wall around this Karmelis. And what's the dip? And it came to rest on top of the wall. Since we defined any structure that's 10 tefachim high, 4 tefachim wide, that's not 10 tefachim high. Let's say it's 10 tefachim, but it's not 4 tefachim wide. It's a Makom P'tur. So we don't care that it's happens to be a wall surrounding a Karmelis. It by itself is a Makom P'tur. Since I now surrounded the Karmelis with 4 walls and it became a Rishus Hayachid, maybe Kiman demale dami. It's considered as if it's full, like other batim that we said are considered full, and maybe it's considered Rosh Hashanah, and therefore I'd be chayiv. If this wall is creating a mechitza for the Carmelites and changing the halachic status, it certainly should change its halachic status for itself. Itmar nami, there's a brisa that supports this. And by covering it, by surrounding the Carmelites with the walls, you made it a Rishus HaYachid. Hazorik v'nachal gabel chayiv. Because la'cherim ois mechitza latzma l'kol shekain. If it was a mechitza for the Carmelites to create a Rishus HaYachid, it certainly is powerful enough to make it a Rishus HaYachid for itself if something is thrown on it and lands on it. Period. Boy Rav Yochanan. Bor Tisha. You have a bore that's 9 tvachim deep. V'okar mimenu chulya. You went to the bottom of the bore, you dug some dirt out to make the depth of the bore 10. Vishlima la'asara ma'u. Now, at the same moment that you threw the dirt from the bore out to the Rishus HaRabim is when you made it a bore. And if you would have had a ball in the bore that was 9 tvachim and you threw it in the Rishus HaRabim, I wouldn't be chayiv anything, because I did not transfer from a proper Rishus HaYachid. But now, the same moment that I throw the dirt, I created a Rishus HaYachid and I transferred from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim. Am I chayiv? Do we say Akiras Chayfetz Vasiyas Mechitza Bahadi Adadi Kosi? Do we say that the Akira of the item I'm throwing, which is the dirt, and the creation of the new Rishus, i.e., the fact that this is now bore that is 10 deep, not 9 deep, maybe even though it happens simultaneously, Mechayiv, or Lo Mechayiv. Or maybe we don't believe in simultaneity in this regard. And Vimtim Saloimar, maybe you'll tell me there is no simultaneity. Kivan Dulav Mechitza Asar Mikara. It didn't start off as a bore of 10. So you would think Lo Mechayiv. But I'll ask you another question. Bor Asara. You have a 10-foot bore, and it has a rim to it, which makes it 10. And I push the rim in, and the rim is sitting in the Rishus HaRabim. So by pushing the rim in, I transferred from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid, but at the same moment, I reduced the board from 10 to 9. So maybe I would be potter. Do we say Anochas Chayfetz V'Seich B'Chitz B'Adi Adani Ka'asur Mechayev? Maybe I view it removal of the chayfetz, i.e. the dirt. And it landed when it was still 10. And therefore I'd be chayiv, Olam Chayiv. So Tifshet Le Mididei. Let's learn from the following Mishnah. This not. Hazarik Arba Amis Bakoy. So let's say I throw something from Rishus HaRabim to a wall, and it landed on the wall. L'mala Masor Tfachim. So there is no Rishus HaRabim above Asor Tfachim. It's a Makam Tur. So it's Kazarik Ba'avir didn't land on anything. I'm not chayiv. As long as it's if it lands less than 10 on the wall. Yes, sir. Good morning. Good. Hazarik Arbam is because Lamal Masar Tvachim Kazarik Ba'avir it's potter. Lamata Masar Kazarik Ba'aretz and you're chayiv. Hazarik Ba'aretz Arbam is chayiv. The Avinam Ba, we analyze what do you mean? How do you throw a ball against the wall and it comes to rest? It's going to bounce away from the wall. We're talking about a sticky piece of gum that you threw that got stuck to the wall. Now, here comes the question. Let's say the distance between you and the wall is exactly 4, and you throw something that's, let's say, bulky and sticky, and it lands against the wall. Well, the item is not really moved more than 4 amas. It's within the 4 amas space, right? This is similar to the question we had about the boar, the simultaneity question. The moment I threw it, I've now reduced the distance to less than 4 amas.
By the way, Ernie, they translated it as a juicy cake of figs.
Yeah. The dvela is a fig. Is a fig.
Cake of figs that stuck together. They threw against.
Yeah, it's like a fruit cake.
A fruit cake.
Yeah, but I gave. Yeah, that's the dvela is a fig cake. But I wanted to give an example of something that we would understand in our own language. Rashi says shenidvak b'nei hakosel, and dvela refers to, yes, a fig cake.
Figs are sticky.
Figs are sticky, and it's a big fig. And it reduced the distance that I threw it less than 4 amas. So hasam, but there lomavatale. By the fig, he's not going to leave it attached to the wall. He's going to remove it. But by throwing the dirt into the boy, he's going to leave it. And you're going to be mavatel the mechitza, and therefore the mechitza is going to be mavatel permanently when I throw the dirt into the board.
Hold on a second. He throws the fig, the cake of figs. He didn't throw it because he wanted it. Maybe he didn't want to eat it. He just put it against the wall. So why do you say that he's going to take it out? I mean, where'd you get that from? The Gemara doesn't say that.
Because Rashi says hasam lo mavatale dvela hilkach lavniutu. There, since he wants that fig, so he's going to remove it, and you didn't permanently reduce the space of anything. The physical space of Dal Amas remains. The fact that you threw the fig, you're eventually going to remove it, but by the dirt that you threw into the board, that you're going to leave there. So there you permanently reduced. There you permanently reduced the board. So the Gemara wants to say that's why there's no raya from the shmeina, from the dvela shmeina. Boy Rav. Here's a very interesting thing. Zorak daf, v'nachal gabi yiseder. You had pegs, which were not daled al daled. They were 10 tfachim high, but by the pegs themselves did not create Rosh Hashanah. You threw a board to land on top of the peg, and the board was 4 by 4. So when you threw it, you created a new Rosh Hashanah. So my kamaboyle hanachas chayfetz fasias bechitza b'hadei adari ka'asu. You're describing the same case, that the throwing of an item as well as the creation of the mechitza, that's Hainu Rav Yochanan. That's the same question as we said before. If you have a board that's 9 and I throw the dirt in it and I make it a board of 10 at the same time, well, that's the same question. So the Gemara says, no, here I'm asking a more refined question. Here, he was a magician. He had a board, and he had a teacup on top of the board. And he threw the board with the teacup that lands on top of the peg. So here, it's a more complicated question. I created the mechitza, and there's a chayfetz on top of there. Kivan de bahadi adoni ka'asu. Since it happens up simultaneously, kanachas chayfetz fasias mechitza dami. I made the chayfetz landed, and I created the mechitza at the same time. And therefore, maybe I would say you're potter because there was no mechitza there. Or keep it the leyefshul midla porta v'ada nayach kasis mechitza v'nachas chayfetz dami. No. Think about it. When you throw the board and the teacup is on it, so the board lands, the teacup bounces a little bit. So it's as if now the board landed, I've got the Rosh Hashanah, the teacup rises up and then sits down again. So maybe it's not simultaneous. Maybe now I have the mechitza, and I threw something for Sarabim and I created Rosh Hashanah, and then 2 seconds later, the teacup landed, and I threw that as well, and I'd be chayiv for Hotzah between Hachnasa between the Rishus Harabim and the Rishus Hayachid. Teiku. Okay. And the next piece we will start on Motzei Shabbos. So Yaakov from Yerushalayim, it's good to see you, Yaakov.